Welcome to another edition of Brownie Bites here on YouTube. I'm Darryl Ryder, coming to you from Cross Country Mortgage Campus in Berea, where preparations for Sunday's game in Detroit with the Lions continues. Some great news to pass along on the injury front. Everybody was on the practice field Thursday. Shelby Harris, Mike Hall Jr., and Denzel Ward all returned to practice, as again they continue those preparations for a very loaded team in Detroit Sunday.
They're a great team. But we just got to go in and do our job and find a way to execute and minimize the big plays and play our brand of football. Yeah, definitely got to have quick celebrations this week with them going forward on fourth down a lot of the times. But yeah, just got to stay locked in the whole time and knowing that they could go forward no matter where it's set on the field and just lock in every possession, every play. Biggest thing is just whatever our job is on that specific play, like our assignment is executing our assignment. Should fall into our lap. Whatever we got to do. So just execute on our specific jobs, individual jobs within a play, and get through the down. Yeah, they got just great overall playmakers on the team, like receivers, running back, quarterback. Like I said, the receivers, and they can do it all. Got to take the top off guys, got possession guys, guys that catch the ball. So we're gonna have a good challenge for us this week. But we're all looking forward to it, though. Just playing our brand of football, and yeah, those guys up front being disruptive, and us covering on the back end, and us doing our job. It's gonna work together, and regardless of what those guys on the other side do, as long as we're doing what we're supposed to do, we should take care of business. Every offense, every team is capable of putting points on the board and making plays and everything. But come game day, it's a whole new game. Regardless of what guys have done in the past, and so we just got to go in and try to minimize those points, not let them score as many, and get the ball back to our offense and let those guys go put some points on the board and go from there. I think the biggest thing is just 11 hats to the ball. Everybody get to the ball, wrap up, and we got to do our job on the outside too, making those tackles and making it hard for those guys and helping our linebackers and D-line get those guys down because, like I said, they're a great running back group, capable of making plays, and we just got to help them out.
Defensively, there's no room to relax with Detroit's propensity for motions, trick plays, and fourth down aggressiveness. They're 7 of 8 on fourth down this season. No question, defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz has his hands full putting together a game plan to slow up an offense that has scored 90 points in the last 2 games combined.
So much of their, what they do is run and then play action. A lot of under center stuff where a lot of that, where a lot of those play actions come from. And I think that another layer to neutralizing the play-action game, like I talked about the checkdowns that come after it. You play deep, and then all of a sudden Gibbs has got the ball with some air in there. That's tough. That's a tough situation. But generally, the play-action game is dependent on the run game being effective. And, just to go back to the original thing, if we can neutralize the run game, then I think that does have a little effect on neutralizing the play-action game also. But runs, play-action, screens, they're probably the leader in the NFL when it comes to combining all 3 of those things on first and second down. So, we'll have to take away what they do best, and every play is going to be a battle. They got a lot of playmakers. Different positions, good quarterback, good offensive line. So we'll have our work cut out for us. On third and whatever, make it 3rd and 10. Usually you can give up 8 yards and punt teams coming on the field, right? These guys, it's not the case. And it's not just in the plus territory. I mean, the NFL has trended toward a lot of teams going forward on fourth down in the plus territory. These guys will go for it in their own territory. They'll go for it, midfield. They'll go for a little bit longer fourth downs. So just knowing that going in, it layers your calls just a little bit different. It really doesn't change. It really doesn't change our attitude, but maybe what you're willing to give up on a third down might not be the same this week as in other weeks.
On the offensive side of things for Cleveland, the tackle situation continues to be challenging after losing DeJuan Jones for the season. And Jack Conklin continues to deal with the elbow injury, and it's unclear if he's going to be available Sunday. KT Leviston and Cornelius Lucas have been trying to hold down the fort. In the meantime, they also added Thaler Munford Jr. this week. Combine that with the Browns averaging just over 15 points per ball game, and that's not going to get it done up in Motown this weekend.
We have a group of guys now that we're developing that we feel like can go out and execute for us. Obviously, you hate to see injuries happen, especially with, like we said last week, Dwan's still a young player developing in this league. So to, feel like we're trying, we're breaking through with him and getting him into a point, and then have an injury happen, you hate to see it. We have confidence in those other guys. We look forward to hopefully getting some guys healthy as the season progresses. But look, it's a group effort up front. It's a group effort with the tight ends and the backs to help. And we talked about it last week in the passing game to mitigate a really good rush like Green Bay had. It's a hard thing to just put on one position group or one spot. Like, you got to get open, got to play on time, got to get yourself in the right protection. So, we want to put a plan together to help all those guys. And, we do have confidence in the tackles that we're playing with. Just got to get him comfortable. Probably felt comfortable early a couple weeks ago, haven't been able to get back into rhythm. Again, our job as coaches is to get him feeling comfortable and confident, and we've been working at that. He's not a guy that gets real up and down, so you wouldn't sense any of that. But just in the course of a game, allowing him to feel confident that he can rip it, and really that's our job as a coaching staff to make sure that we get him there. You're conscious of what's going on the other side, but we know, regardless of who we're playing offensively, like, we still have to execute and do our job. We have a tremendous amount of trust in our defense, obviously, but really the focus still holds on us, less about, hey, we got to keep up or we got to be in a track meet. We just are more focused on doing our part and making sure that we can have success playing and play out. And you hope if you do those things, the results will come. Yeah, well, they have a couple like playmakers at all the levels, right? I mean, like the pass rush with Hutch kind of creates the issue in the pocket. Branch is all over the field. He plays on the edge, plays at linebacker, plays at safety, punches it out. Really good coverage player, makes plays on the ball that way. 31 had, was it 8 interceptions a year ago? Or, and he plays the middle of the field probably as well as anybody, in the league, ultra aggressive. And, they have playmakers that are looking to get the ball out. They do a great job fundamentally as a group of punching and ripping at the ball. Like, you watch Anzalone run down, constantly going after the football. So it's clearly coached how they attack the ball. They play an aggressive style where they're going to, challenge you and swarm it and be aggressive and play lower and do things to try to make the quarterback feel uncomfortable. And then they always have 11 seem to be chasing the ball. And when you do that, when the ball comes out, usually you recover it. So definitely have our work cut out for us there.
Really need to give guard Joe Bitonio some credit for gutting through a sore back and back spasms last week and to play in that win over the Packers, as another physical defensive line awaits Bitonio and company come Sunday.
Improvement from last week for sure. I'm a lot better place. Usually it's like a week before I can get to like normal-ish. So I'm at that weak point. So it's feeling better for sure. Waking up in the morning, that's why people were like, "Oh, getting out of his car." And so I was like that part of the day is the worst part of the day, and then I just don't sit down or lay down for the rest of the day. And then by the end of the day, it's like, all right, I'm able to do some stuff. Yeah. So it's really getting in the stance, and like you feel it, and you feel kind of the lack of mobility, but like the spasm pain part isn't there till probably the next morning. You don't? I mean, the next morning is tough. You know what I mean? Like it definitely gets a little bit, but it's I think it's more muscle, like arthritic, like than actual like different damage. So the doc, we talked it through, and the docs were like, yeah, it's not gonna get significantly worse in the moment. It's not where we want to be, and we'd obviously want to help our defense and special teams out a little bit there, score some more points. I wouldn't say we're as bad as we want, but we do want to improve. They're a good defense. I think they take after their head coach. They want to be a physical, like competitive group, and they show you a bunch of different looks. I know a couple of their inside guys have been banged up, but like you said, their edges kind of line up kind of like Parsons, like everywhere he kind of wants to be, and does those things. But we have a lot of respect for what they did. And I mean, they got Lamar down 7 times, which is hard to do. You don't see very many teams. They did a good job spying him. I don't know if they're going to spy Joe quite as much as they spied Lamar, but no, they have a good plan and they play hard and physical. We have to match that intensity for sure. It's tough. You obviously wish you had your first group out there as much as possible. I think, Cornelius Lucas has shown that he can play right and left tackle, which gives us kind of a piece that they can move around when you don't know who's really going to get out there. KT stepped up this last game and played, and he's a young guy that's developing. We've obviously brought in a few guys, practice squad and signed a guy to the roster. last week to just try and give us options at the position. It's not easy, but that's why you practice. That's why we do the walkthroughs. That's why you have coaches. You got to try and get these guys ready, but it's obviously not ideal to have your third and fourth tackle in week 4. But I think the guys that are in there have worked and produced, and I think we're going to try and find a game plan that suits our abilities up front.
Browns will be back on the practice field on Friday and, of course, on Saturday, walkthrough, team meetings, and a bus ride up to Motown. That'll do it for this edition of Brownie Bites. Once again, thanks as always for watching, and remember to subscribe to the 92.3 The Fan channel here on YouTube. With the Browns in Berea, I'm Darrell Ryder for Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.